At the dining table, Daniel's sister said with a giggle, "Women over 30 must have an old lady smell by now, right?" Daniel casually glanced at her. "What do you know? Women that age are the best. You just lift a hand, and she knows how to switch things up." I twitched my lips. He seemed to forget that with a flick of my hand, I could also replace him. On the day Daniel was promoted, I prepared a promotion party for him in a private dining room at my hotel. Just as I was about to push the door open, I heard a familiar voice inside ask him, "Daniel, why do you like that old woman, Grace?" I recognized that voice. It was Daniel's sister, Chloe. I stopped dead. "Women over 30 must have an old lady smell by now, right?" Chloe's voice was full of a flirtatious pout. Through the crack in the door, I saw Daniel glance at her. "What do you know? Women that age are the sweetest. You just lift a hand, and she knows how to switch things up." The words had barely left his lips before they were met with a chorus of agreement. Someone asked, "Daniel, between Grace and our little Chloe, who's got more charm?" Daniel's eyes were unfocused as he swayed the car keys in his hand. Chloe's slender arm hooked around Daniel's neck. "You'd have to test the new car's suspension to find that out, wouldn't you?" Then came knowing adult laughter. I had met Chloe before. She was a new intern at Daniel's firm. "This is my sister." Daniel had introduced her to me. A sister with no blood relation. I raised an eyebrow, rubbing my stiff cheeks. Through the door crack, I took another look at Daniel, who was clearly getting drunk, then pushed the door open and walked in. The laughter abruptly ceased. Daniel instinctively pulled Chloe off him. He stood up and walked towards me. "Honey, you're here," he said, pulling me into an embrace. Then, with a hint of pride, he announced to everyone at the table, "This is my girlfriend, the owner of this hotel, Grace." The expressions of those at the dining table varied, but being adults, they all managed to show a welcoming attitude. Chloe remained seated, unmoving. She was wearing a strappy dress made of satin-like fabric that highlighted her slender figure, her short bob-framed bright, focused eyes fixed on me. "Grace is here. Come sit over here." While she said that, she made no move to stand up and offer her chair. "Sure," I replied with a smile, not backing down. Chloe's face stiffened for a moment, her composed expression crumbling. Daniel immediately stepped forward and nudged her. "Move it. Can't you see my girlfriend is here? Aren't you going to give your sister-in-law her seat?" Other companions joined in the teasing. I walked straight to her side. Chloe reluctantly stood up, her dress barely covering her thighs. Then, something seemed to occur to her. Chloe winked at a colleague beside her. Immediately, I heard a thud. Turning around, Chloe was already sitting on the floor. Her dress had ridden up further, revealing a glimpse of lace. Daniel instinctively grabbed the jacket draped over the back of a chair and covered Chloe with it. "Grace, why did you pull my chair away?" Chloe's eyes welled up. Daniel helped her to her feet. He turned to meet my gaze. His expression, initially tinged with anger, quickly cooled. He said to Chloe, "What nonsense are you talking about? Your sister-in-law wouldn't do such a thing." Then to me, "Honey, don't overthink it. Chloe is just like a sister to me." My gaze swept over the hem of Chloe's dress. "Then make sure she calls you sister-in-law next time." Her expression crumbled again, for after dinner, everyone clamored to see the new car I'd bought Daniel. Daniel himself was eager to show it off. With so many people, I didn't want to be a spoil sport. We all went down to the underground parking garage. The car I bought Daniel was a sports car. Daniel excitedly took pictures from the driver's seat. Chloe leaned against the window, batting her eyes as she asked Daniel, "Daniel, isn't this car a bit too small?" Her fingers traced Daniel's hand. Daniel looked past Chloe, cautiously glancing at me. "Grace, why don't you head home first? It'll take everyone to another spot." Then he added, "Is that okay?" His expressive eyes looked at me earnestly. Chloe also turned around, smiling at me. "That's right, Grace, our younger crowd might not be your scene. Why don't you go home and get your beauty sleep? After all, you need to maintain yourself now." Younger crowd? Daniel was only 3 years younger than me. He seemed to notice my sour expression. Daniel pushed open the car door and got out. "Honey, don't misunderstand. Chloe is just worried you might be bored since you don't know everyone well." I suddenly smiled. "You're right, I won't go, after all. I have plans to later." Chloe's eyes darted, and she linked her arm through Daniel's right in front of me. "Don't worry, big sister. I'll keep a good eye on Daniel for you." Everyone cheered. Some started calling cabs, others made reservations. Daniel, however, tensed up. "It's so late. Where are you going?" I turned back to him, smiling. The lounge, Daniel's face fell. Chloe immediately burst out laughing. Grace, do successful women like you often go to places like that for business? I wonder if you ever get taken advantage of, she said, eyeing me up and down. Daniel's face clouded, and he firmly pulled me back. You're not allowed to go. I'm not going either. Then he turned and said to everyone, we're going home. Well, reschedule. Chloe stomped her foot in anger behind him, calling out a few times, but Daniel didn't respond. He quickly pulled me into the car, and they sped off. 5 on the way. Daniel revved the engine, his face grim, but he forcefully suppressed his emotions. I don't like you going to places like that. I glanced at him, countering. What kind of place is that kind of place? He turned his head to look at me, eased off the gas pedal, and softened his tone as if comforting me. But it sounded more like an excuse for Chloe. Chloe speaks carelessly. I only see her as a sister. Don't overthink it. If something was going to happen between us, it would have already. I was so angry I almost laughed. I just stared at him, saying nothing. Daniel's face slowly reddened under my gaze. Grace, you're 30 years old. Why are you bickering with a young girl? I calmly straightened myself and replied, then tell me, with whom were you planning to test the suspension of the car a 30-year-old woman bought you? Daniel instinctively slammed on the brakes. I lurched forward from the inertia, my seatbelt digging into my chest and making me cough. He looked at me, his face flushed. He wanted to explain something, but his phone rang. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the caller ID showed Chloe. Daniel hesitated, then answered the call. I couldn't hear what was being said on the other end, only intermittent sobbing and Chloe's voice saying, Daniel, hurry. Hanging up, Daniel unbuckled my seatbelt without hesitation. He reached across me and opened the passenger door. Grace, you go home first. Something happened to Chloe. 6 in early October in Northwood City. The night wind was still quite cool. I stood by the roadside, watching cars come and go, momentarily dazed. Seeing me holding onto the car door, reluctant to leave, Daniel grew impatient. Grace, don't make a scene. Chloe is real in danger. I walked around to the driver's seat and pulled open the car door. Get out. Take a cab. He couldn't believe I would kick him out of the car and remained seated, unmoving. I smiled and continued, if you don't go now, your little sister will be in real danger. Daniel's face darkened. He got out of the car, slamming the door shut. I never thought you were so petty. With that, he hailed a cab and left. I called a rideshare driver and headed in the opposite direction, to the lounge for my appointment. It's just a man after all. 7 when I returned to my apartment in the morning, Chloe was standing, still half asleep, in the living room and dining area. She was wearing my silk nightgown. Her already slender figure was highlighted even more. I instinctively glanced at the master bedroom. The door was slightly ajar. Oh, Grace, you're back? Chloe let out a small gasp, as if just realizing. She quickly turned and went back to the bedroom, slipping into one of Daniel's shirts before coming back out. Daniel heard the commotion and followed her out of the bedroom. I glanced over to see the duvet in the bedroom was messy. Clearly, a battle had just been fought. Seeing me standing in the entryway, Daniel showed a flash of panic. Chloe drank too much yesterday and someone bothered her, so I brought her back. She slept in the guest bedroom. Don't misunderstand, he quickly added as an afterthought. I looked him up and down. He became visibly uncomfortable under my gaze and turned his face away. Chloe smiled and walked back to the dining area. Grace hasn't had breakfast yet, right? I'm made to servings. I didn't know you'd be back, so you and Daniel can eat. I'm not hungry. I looked her over again. Well, I'm truly sorry to have interrupted you two, but is so diligent. Not only did she make breakfast so early, but the guest bedroom bed is already made up. As I spoke, my gaze went to the wide-open door of the guest bedroom, where the bed was indeed neatly made. Daniel's face darkened. Grace, can you not start trouble first thing in the morning? Chloe was kind enough to make you breakfast, and you're jealous of her, huh? Wearing my nightgown, sleeping with my man, and offering me leftovers? I ignored them both and walked straight to my walk-in closet to change clothes and get ready to leave. As I grabbed my bag and was about to head out, Chloe chased after me. Grace, I also made some snacks for Daniel today. Would you like to take some? For a moment, I actually felt like a guest in my own home. I turned around. Keep them for your Daniel. It's October. You shouldn't be wearing so little. You'll catch a cold. Don't bother seeing me out. With that, I closed the door directly and headed to the garage. 8 when I first met Daniel, he had just graduated from college. He was the same age as Chloe now. Back then, he was just a fledgling intern, as green as an unripe apple, at the firm. He was always bossed around by his superiors, treated like he was invisible once. There was a huge flaw in their firm's design, all fingers pointed at him, claiming the part he was responsible for had issues, but his remarkably sophisticated techniques and bold creativity didn't align with his intern status. I argued against everyone and saved his job, demanding the firm thoroughly investigate the matter. Eventually, the truth came out. A senior designer at their firm had framed him as he was looking to jump ship. At that time, his eyes were full of gratitude and adoration. From then on, Daniel paid special attention to me. He started appearing frequently in my office, ostensibly to ask for advice. In reality, I knew his intentions were not purely professional. I wasn't initially interested. After all, I was 3 years older than him, but he didn't care. Grace, age isn't a problem. It's lucky to have an older woman. He would always say this, half joking, half serious, his eyes shining with genuine sincerity. He pursued me relentlessly, finding new ways to surprise me every day. He would remember what flowers I liked. He would bring me a warm late-night snack when I worked late. He would take me for drives in the countryside on weekends. His thoughtfulness and tenderness slowly melted my defenses. I started to enjoy his companionship, the happiness he brought. I told myself that age was just a number, that true love knew no age. But thankfully it wasn't too late. 9 As I was finishing up work for the day, my phone screen lit up with a message from Daniel. Grace, I'm coming to pick you up. I didn't reply, simply went back to my home screen. Habitually, I opened WhatsApp. The first post that popped up was from Chloe. The accompanying picture was undeniably her, wearing my silk nightgown, lying on my master bedroom bed, taking a selfie with a languid and content expression. The caption was even more galling. Daniel's mattress is so comfy. I took a deep breath, liked the post, and commented, then it's yours. I didn't say the latter part of which was, and this man too. I had added her as a friend once when Daniel had too much to drink at a work dinner, and Chloe brought him home. The next day, I received a friend request from Chloe. She said it was for convenience, in case Daniel had a similar situation again. At the time, I didn't think much of it and accepted her request. Now, it was plain as day what the young woman's intentions were. She deliberately wore my nightgown, took a selfie on my bed, and posted it on social media, clearly making a statement to me. Youth is great, but her methods are so clumsy. 10 Just as I stepped out of the hotel entrance, Daniel's car was already parked outside. As I reached for the door handle, I saw Chloe was already in the passenger seat. Daniel immediately explained, Chloe said she upset you today and wants to treat you to dinner. Chloe looked at me with a sweet, simpering expression. Daniel saw I get carsick, so he let me sit in the passenger seat. You don't mind, do you, Grace? Daniel's eyes darted away slightly, but he still didn't say anything. I stood by the passenger window, unmoving. Chloe lost her patience, but in a strained, falsely sweet voice, she said, Grace, hurry and get in the car. It'll be rush hour soon, and the restaurant's already booked. With that, she turned her head to look at Daniel in the driver's seat, practically shooting heart emojis from her eyes. I yanked open the car door and pulled Chloe out. Slap. I slapped her across the face, then turned to look at Daniel in the driver's seat. Haven, I told you not to bring garbage into my car, especially not squawking barnyard fowl. People were coming and going at the hotel entrance. My slap and curses drew a lot of stares. Daniel immediately got out of the car and went to Chloe's side. Chloe burrowed into Daniel's arms. Daniel, I just get carsick. If was upset, she Vay just told me. Why did she do this to me? Daniel's eyes widened in anger. Grace, what the hell are you doing? I told you. Chloe is just my sister. I glared at Daniel and said, driving my car, humiliating me right outside my own hotel. Who gave you to the nerve? Daniel always valued his reputation. After I started dating him, I always carefully protected his ego. Even when I introduced him to projects, I did it subtly, through several indirect channels. This had made him forget his true worth over the years. Now that I had ripped away his pretense, his face flushed then paled. My car? Take it back. I don't need it. With that, Daniel threw the car keys into my lap, pulled Chloe, and walked away. I drove home, intending to clear out some garbage. Daniel had moved in with me after we started dating. H arrived with only a few changes of clothes. But now, seeing his designer suits, TIs, and shoes, I couldn't help but laugh. Daniel certainly knows how to live off someone while maintaining his pride. but he probably didn't realize that when I loved him, he was the moon in the sky. When I didn't, he was a piece of trash, the non-recyclable kind. I neatly arranged his clothes, shoes, watches, even all his electronics, took photos, and then uploaded them to an online marketplace. Just as I finished tidying up, Daniel's call came in. I answered, and his voice on the phone held a trace of panic. "Honey, I got a notification on my phone. Why did you put all my things on an online marketplace? I was impulsive earlier. Don't be angry. I'll bring you a late night snack tonight, okay?" Before became his intern, Daniel was a devoted boyfriend, following all my accounts. It wasn't surprising he got a notification when I posted the secondhand items. I thought for a moment and simply said, "Time for something new. We can discuss it when you get back." As for what was new, he would find out when he returned. Daniel hung up. With his self-confidence, he would only assume I'd bought him a new wardrobe. After all, he believed an old woman of 30 couldn't live without a young stud like him, but he seemed to forget he was already 27. Don't men start losing their appeal after 25? Or was that just some celebrity gossip? 12 by 10 o'clock. Daniel still hadn't returned, and I was getting impatient. Just as I was about to pick up my phone to ask him, I received a message from him. "Honey, my colleagues want to keep drinking. I'll be back late." I took a deep breath. I messaged back, "I wanted to tell you in person, but since you can't make it back, I'm breaking up with you via WhatsApp." 10 minutes passed, and Daniel didn't reply. I didn't know if H seen it, but I decided to take his silence as agreement to break up. Then I put his belongings outside the door and changed the door code. After a moment's thought, I messaged my best friend Sarah. "Where are you?" She replied instantly, "The lounge, come." I washed up, changed clothes, and left. I just didn't expect to meet an unexpected person at the lounge. 13 Before I even entered the lounge, I heard deafening music. I had just walked in and hadn't yet adjusted to the dim lighting when Sarah was already waving to me from a booth. I saw a young man sitting next to her. He looked a bit familiar, but I just assumed he was another one of her boyfriends. As soon as I sat down, he extended a hand to me. "Grace, long time no see." I paused, not recognizing him. Sarah nudged my shoulder. "You didn't recognize him, did you?" "It's my brother Ethan." I was shocked. That chubby boy from high school? 4 years of college turned him into a Korean heartthrob? I quickly reached out and shook his hand. Sarah then asked, "Where's your sugar baby?" She always insisted Daniel was my sugar baby and never gave him the time of day, so I mostly kept them apart. I shrugged. "We broke up, just now." Sarah looked surprised, but before she could say anything, Ethan jumped in. "So, Grace, does that mean I have a chance now?" Sarah's jaw, already dropped in surprise, now hung even wider. "I always said I'd marry Grace when I was little," Ethan said, looking at Sarah with puppy dog eyes, sounding hurt. Now, everyone at the table was silent. Just then, amidst the loud music, a jarring male voice calling Grace made us all look up. 14 The shrill male voice was exceptionally clear amidst the clamorous music. I looked in the direction of the sound, and it was Daniel. Speak of the devil, what rotten luck. He had his arm around Chloe. The woman was wearing an extremely revealing strappy dress, practically draped all over Daniel. Chloe saw me and immediately put on a simpering, affected smile, asking in a sickly sweet voice, "Oh, isn't that Grace? What a coincidence. Are you here to have fun too? Alone? Or on a date with another man?" She deliberately emphasized another man, her eyes darting between Ethan and me, full of provocation. Daniel also saw Ethan beside me. A flicker of surprise flashed across his face, which quickly turned to fury. He pushed Chloe away and pointing at me, yelled, "Grace, I was just gone for a little while, and you couldn't wait to go out and find a man, and such a young one at that. Aren't you ashamed? At your age, how can you still shamelessly chase after young studs?" Before I could even speak, Ethan shot to his feet and punched Daniel in the face. Daniel staggered back, almost falling to the ground. "What the hell are you saying?" Ethan roared. "Grace and I have known each other since childhood. Who do you think you are?" I was startled by Ethan's actions and quickly pulled him back. "Ethan, don't be impulsive." Then I turned to Daniel and said, "Daniel, check your messages. I told you we broke up." Daniel, clutching his bruised face, showed a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He dutifully took out his phone, and after seeing the message, his attitude immediately shifted. "Grace, are you still mad at me? I don't want to break up." 15 Just then, Chloe, who was behind Daniel, stepped forward. "Grace, You didn't break up with Daniel for this handsome young man next to you, did you? This sentence reignited Daniel's fury. I saw his fists clenched tightly at his sides. I suddenly felt a hint of mockery. Ethan is Sarah's brother. He just graduated college and returned home. There's nothing going on between us. Hearing my words, Daniel's face brightened, but I wasn't explaining to him. Changing my tone, I added, his presence has nothing to do with our breakup. But you two, would you like me to get the security camera footage from my place for us to enjoy together? Last year, a resident in the residential complex had a break-in, so I installed security cameras in my living room and on the balcony. I never imagined those two would play such elaborate games, like an X-rated film. Hearing me say that, Daniel's face darkened again. This time, even Chloe's face changed. She stammered, You have security cameras at your place? She darted her gaze between Daniel and me. I smiled. Of course, not only me, but Daniel also has access to the security camera footage at my place on his phone. He must really love you, otherwise, why would he deliberately do it under the cameras? Chloe's face instantly went pale. Daniel immediately shook his head. I didn't mean anything by it. I just forgot. I didn't bother with their drama anymore. I pulled Sarah and Ethan, ready to leave. Before I left, I looked back and said, Don't forget to take your belongings. 16 outside Velvet. Sarah and Ethan and I parted ways. Before getting into the car, Ethan was still complaining, Grace, can't I really take you home? Before he could finish, his sister pulled him away. I had just called a rideshare driver and was about to leave when Daniel came running out after me. He grabbed my arm, his eyes full of panic and pleading, Grace, please let me explain. You misunderstood. Please give me another chance, okay? His voice was hurried and frantic. I forcefully shook off his hand, wrinkling my nose in disgust. The cheap cologne mixed with the smell of smoke and alcohol on him assaulted my nostrils. Get lost. He staggered back, his face filled with disbelief. Grace, I just made a mistake any man in the world could make. Can't you forgive me just once? I almost laughed from sheer exasperation, looking at his face, slightly puffy from drinking. I felt a wave of nausea. Daniel, you're enjoying the resources and success 30-year-old woman brings you, while also wanting the fresh flesh of a young girl. You're really getting your money's worth out of having his cake and eating it too, aren't you? My tone was dripping with sarcasm. Daniel opened his mouth, unsure how to retort. His panic deepened, probably realizing that I was truly angry. The rideshare driver arrived. I opened the car door and got in. Seeing this, Daniel grew even more anxious. He leaned on the car window, begging pitifully, completely abandoning his pride. Grace, please, I beg you, give me one more chance. I truly know I was wrong. I can't live without you. I'll fire Chloe immediately. Okay? He pounded on the car window. The rideshare driver looked back at me, unsure whether to drive. I lowered the window and said to Daniel, Remember to take your pile of junk? Then I motioned for the rideshare driver to go. The car slowly started moving, and Daniel actually chased after it. His figure only disappeared once the car sped up. 17 back home. I had just showered and was about to rest when loud noises echoed from the hallway. The doorbell rang. I opened it, and the screen displayed Daniel's face. After a moment's hesitation, I called the security office. About a few minutes later, I heard the security guard talking to Daniel at the door. Mr. Daniel, Ms. Grace said you no longer live here. She has already contacted management to delete your access. Please leave. Daniel was insistent. Honey, I beg you, open the door and let me explain. He sounded drunk, and I had no intention of opening the door. I knew the security guards would handle it. After all, I pay tens of thousands in property management fees a year. They shouldn't go to waste. A moment later, the hallway grew quiet. I slept peacefully. When I woke up the next day, my phone was flooded with messages from Daniel. Honey, I'm really sorry. Will you meet me? Honey, I swear, I really won't see Chloe again. Don't leave me. Grace, you're already 30. Do you think you still have your youth to fall in love again? Who else would want you besides me? Daniel's messages became increasingly erratic, from pleading to outright hysterics. I blocked and deleted him in one go. 18 I continued with the renovation work for my new hotel. Swamped with tasks, thankfully, Daniel didn't bother me anymore. The project was delivered quickly. The hotel planned an opening reception and also invited the design firm. But I didn't expect Daniel to bring Chloe. On the day of the opening reception, seeing Chloe walking towards me, her arm linked with Daniel's, I felt like I'd swallowed a dead fly because she was wearing the same evening gown as me. Sarah nudged my shoulder. Didn't he say she was fired? This is a blatant provocation. Daniel's boss was also there. He clearly hadn't expected his firm's young intern to wear the same dress as me. His face stiffened, but he merely chuckled and said, "Our firm and Ms. Grace certainly have a special connection." I said nothing, my smile gone. The other men looked a bit awkward. So Daniel took over. "Chloe didn't know she'd be wearing the same dress as you. She didn't do it on purpose." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Instead of looking at Daniel, I turned to his boss. "Indeed, a special connection. Chloe and I also happen to have shared the same boyfriend, isn't that right, designer?" I smiled as I turned back to Daniel. With that, I left the group of people with varying expressions and walked towards the stage area. As I turned, I heard his boss say to the two of them, "Well, deal with you two back at the office." 19 When it was time to cut the cake, Chloe once again sidled up to me. Both she and I were wearing floor-length gowns, our skirt hems trailing on the ground, revealing just a sliver of the train out of the corner of my eye. I saw her heels step on my skirt, a malicious glint in her eyes. "Here, I'd like to thank one person. Mr. Robert, the owner of Apex Firm. Mr. Robert, please come up to the stage." My sudden invitation made Daniel and Chloe's boss look surprised, but he eagerly walked onto the stage. After all, making an appearance at this event would open up many opportunities for big contracts with other hotels. Just as Robert reached the tiered cake display, I forcefully swung my skirt out and took 2 steps back. Chloe, however, was caught off guard by my sudden movement. She instinctively reached out to grab something to steady herself, and so Robert became the unfortunate victim. Chloe then yanked Robert down onto the 5-tiered cake display, burying him completely in frosting. Chloe's eyes went wide. Daniel immediately stepped forward to help his boss up. Robert stood up, covered in frosting, and exploded in a rage. "Chloe, are you blind? You're fired." Chloe blinked, her eyes filled with tears. She tugged at Daniel's jacket, shaking it repeatedly. I didn't do it on purpose. It was Grace." She suddenly turned and pointed at me. Oh, the nerve. She still dared to point the finger at me at a time like this. But I doubted her boss would back her up. Daniel looked at me pleadingly, and I obliged his unspoken request by saying, "Mr. Robert, please cut the great designer some slack. After all, she's his girlfriend." Well, all 3 of their faces fell. 20 Even though my opening reception was ruined, I was in a great mood. That night, Sarah, Ethan, and I celebrated privately. "Congratulations, girl, you dumped the jerk, and your new hotel had a successful opening." Ethan also raised his glass and sat beside me. "Sister, will you or won't you let me pursue you?" The wine I'd just sipped instantly choked me, and I coughed violently. Sarah, oblivious, added, "Actually, my brother's not bad." "How great is a younger man?" My eyes widened. "I'm 8 years older than him," the siblings said in unison. "So what?" 21 I don't know how much I drank. I don't even know how I got home. But in a haze, I knew Ethan was right in front of me. "Sister, I've liked you since I was little. Why won't you ever look at me?" In my daze, I tilted my head, looking at his glistening eyes. I hooked my finger into the collar of his shirt. My fingers traced the lines of his muscles beneath his thin shirt. I pulled him closer and kissed his lips. He froze, veins pulsed. I stood on my tiptoes and whispered huskily in his ear, "Kiss me." His arms tightened even more. He suddenly lifted me and carried me to the bedroom. After that, Ethan completely took control. He no longer held back. The next morning, I was woken by a knock at the door. My whole body ached unbearably. The stamina of a younger man. The doorbell continued to ring, like a death knell. Ethan, beside me, let out a sleepy murmur. I smiled, got up, and put on a nightgown to open the door. The moment I opened it, my smile froze. It was Daniel. He was holding a large bouquet of red roses, standing awkwardly at my door like a schoolboy caught misbehaving. The roses were vibrant and dewy, their intense fragrance assailing my nostrils, and I couldn't help but frown. "Grace, I was wrong. Can we start over?" His face was filled with regret, his eyes red-rimmed, as if he might burst into tears at any second. I stood, arms crossed, leaning against the doorframe, looking at him like that. I felt nothing, not even a flicker, and almost wanted to laugh. I tossed my hair back, my tone flippant. "Daniel, what act are you putting on now? Bringing me roses you bought for your little sister to disgust me?" His face changed, and he quickly explained, "No, Grace, these flowers are specifically for you. I always remembered you liked roses." "Hold on," I interrupted. My voice as cold as ice. I hate roses. Don't you know that? Daniel froze, as if he couldn't believe what had just said. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something else, but was interrupted by footsteps. Ethan, rubbing his eyes and wrapped in a bath towel, emerged from the bedroom. 23. His hair was disheveled, and his eyes hazy. He had clearly just woken up. Seeing at the door, he clearly paused. Then he looked at me, his eyes questioning. Before I could say anything, Daniel exploded, pointing at Ethan. He roared at me, Grace, you actually got into bed with another man that fast. I scoffed. Daniel, do you have a bad memory? Do you want to watch the video footage of you and Chloe again? Daniel's face flushed then paled. He pointed at Ethan, furious, but didn't know what to say. Ethan also realized what was happening. He walked to my side and put an arm around my waist. Sister likes balloon flowers, don't you know that? Daniel's face darkened further, but only for a moment. Then he actually said, Grace, I know you're just mad at me. Can we just call it even? I really know I was wrong. Chloe has already left the firm. Can we go back to how things were? I don't know where Daniel got the nerve. I smiled and said, what makes you think I'd want a piece of trash? After a moment's thought, I added, men just lose their appeal after 25. With that, I closed the door. The moment the door closed, Ethan pinned me against it. Darling, are men over 25 just not interesting anymore? His warm breath feathered against my ear. Thinking of last night's wildness, I quickly pushed him away. Except for you. Ethan's low voice, tinged with a slight hoarseness, was like a plucked string, making my heart race. Darling, you're not allowed to abandon me. It was as if he was warning me, yet also seducing me. As he spoke, he pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. It felt like he wanted to meld me into his very being. Darling, you can't escape me. I stood on tiptoe, gave him a light kiss on his lips, then fled as if escaping. After breaking up with Daniel, my life became much calmer. Ethan gave me a great sense of security. Occasionally, I'd hear news of Daniel from friends, mostly rumors of his downfall. I heard he was fired from the firm. Several large deals he had secured also fell through because of our breakup. And yet, Chloe actually didn't leave him. Instead, she clung to him relentlessly. She believed that even a fallen phoenix, stripped of its former glory, still had a chance to rise again. It was truly baffling. The two of them caused a huge stir in the social scene. Their reputations were ruined, making them truly two of a kind. Daniel, unwilling to give up, tried to contact me several times, hoping to reconcile, but people turned him away every time. The family was not to be trifled with. Ethan sent people to warn Daniel a few times, and he never dared show up again. Later, I heard that Daniel, desperate to make a comeback, actually used old video footage of him and Chloe to blackmail her into accompanying clients. Chloe, not one to be trifled with herself, sued him in court in a fit of rage. It was truly a messy fight among themselves. Daniel would stop at nothing for money. I heard that after he was fired from the firm, his career plummeted. He couldn't even find a stable job and had to scrape by with odd jobs. The debts he had accumulated also snowballed. Creditors hounded him daily, pushing him to a dead end. He had once been so glorious, but now he was reduced to such a low point. It was truly a regrettable downfall. I heard from friends that Daniel, to evade his creditors, often hid, moving from place to place without a fixed residence. His once glamorous image was long gone, replaced by a face full of weariness and despair. Although sued him, her reputation was also damaged because of that video footage, making it impossible for her to remain in the social scene. She once thought that attaching herself to Daniel would lead to great success. She never imagined she would end up like this. Truly a total loss for her. These two, who had once colluded in wickedness, their story became a joke in the social scene, providing endless gossip for people to talk about after meals. 2 years later, Ethan and I held our wedding in Maui. At the wedding, Ethan said, Darling, perhaps you don't know, but from the age of 6, following behind you, I knew you were the one I would marry. The year I went to study abroad, my heart actually stayed right here. Later, when I heard you had a boyfriend, my heart felt like it was being torn apart. I never imagined that as soon as I returned to the country, you would break up with him. I knew then that we were destined. Thank you for becoming my wife. Ethan made his heartfelt confession. Finally, in my 32nd year, I married Ethan, who was 24. He showed me that age truly means nothing. That's all for today's story. Thank you for listening. This is my channel. The tales I share, drawn from life or woven from imagination, are meant to offer you connection, reflection, and perhaps solace or newfound strength. If you long to see your own reflection in others' journeys, or seek a glimmer of light within the maze of emotions, subscribe to my channel. Listen with your heart. Explore the stories of life.